Hey, what's up, guys? It's Progressive Transformation in here, and today we're going to do a little quick video about military press, aka the overhead press. Well, what are we performing with these movements? We're actually performing three movements. I'm going to talk about the first, shoulder flexion, which is basically lifting your arm up overhead, and you work the anterior deltoid mainly, and there is some upper back involvement also. Secondly, we will be doing elbow extension, in which we will work all the three heads of the triceps brachii. And lastly, we will be doing scapular upward rotation, in which we will work the upper trapezius, but just a little bit, hopefully, because you don't want to be relying too much on the trapezius in order to do the military press. Why is the overhead press a good exercise? Well, there are a lot of reasons why, but I'm mainly focusing on two. First, being a basic multi-joint barbell movement, it allows for a good deal of overload. It isn't fast overload though, so patient, brothers. Secondly, it is a great general strength building exercise that uses a huge range of motion. Problems with overhead press? Well, like any exercise, the overhead press isn't perfect. And one of the problems it has is that it is an anterior deltoid dominant movement, meaning that in order for you to develop your whole shoulder, you need to supplement with other exercises. There is a study that shows that overhead dumbbell presses are better compared to their barbell counterpart at working the side delts. And if you take into consideration whether you are doing the exercise standing or seated, in both cases the standing variation works best for the side delts. A problem with the dumbbell overhead press is that the range of motion is cut short when compared to the barbell counterpart. And this problem gets bigger as you increase the weights and dumbbells, and the dumbbells start touching your shoulders sooner, meaning even more reduced range of motion. So in practice, you should consider periodically incorporating the dumbbell variant as well as lateral delt raises in order to have a more complete workout on your shoulder. But all around, the overhead barbell press is a solid bread and butter exercise to implement on your workouts. When considering load, since this is a multi-joint movement, you want to consider loading up with moderate to heavy weights and sticking within the 5 to 10 rep range. I would advise against going below the 5 rep range if you are kinda new, because as you do lesser and lesser reps, the weight goes up, and if you don't have a perfect form, it is way easier for you to get an injury, and that is really not optimal. When preparing the bar though, you want to put it at the same height as you would a squat, meaning around armpit height should be good for you. Concerning grip, you want to grip the bar with a slightly wider than shoulder width grip, so your hands are just outside your shoulders. When thinking about unracking the bar and starting the movement, you want to get your elbows under the bar, slightly bending your knees and hips, and then standing up straight, then finally unracking the bar. Take 2 to 3 steps backward and firmly plant your feet with a roughly shoulder width stance with a slight 15 degree foot flare. You also want to point your elbows slightly outside your shoulders, around in the scapular plane, and this is your position. As for grip, as is concerned, you have choice in this one. Some people, like Jeff Nippard, recommend something like the suicide grip, also known as the thumbless grip, but he himself says that it's best incorporated when you are more experienced with the movement, because you really got to have a feel for it. Some people defend the bulldog grip, which is when you open your palms and internally rotate them before you grip. People that defend this grip are Jeremy Hettier and Mark Ripto. Basically, in a lot of aspects, basically like in a lot of aspects of bodybuilding, you just pick your own poison. Try them both a couple of times and just see what suits you better. Just keep something in mind though. In any of these grips, you want to have your wrists stacked over your elbows. Never let the bar rest in the back of your fingers. You will be limiting your strength potential and being more prone to injury. Like said previously, you want then to externally rotate your elbows, pushing the elbows slightly out in order to start the movement in the scapular plane, which is between 30 to 45 degrees in front of your rib cage. You don't want your elbows completely flared to the sides though, as it can cause shoulder pain, and having them straight in front of the shoulders will seriously limit your strength potential. Having all that into consideration, when you're finished, while having the bar rest slightly above your collarbone without touching your upper chest, you then flex your glutes in order to make sure you maintain a neutral spine position during the press. Take in a deep breath and press the air against your belly, or lifting belt if you use one. This is done in order to increase intra-abdominal pressure and torso rigidity. While holding your breath, press the bar straight up. Since you want to take the most optimally short bar pads, you want to move the bar in a straight line up, not out and up, just up. In order to assure you do this, when you start the press upwards, move your head a little bit back, and when the bar is completely up, just put your head in a neutral position once again. And when the bar is coming down, have your head tilt a little bit back also in order to make the bar go to its starting position. By the way, I'm saying for you to have the bar resting at above your collarbone without touching your upper chest. This is kinda debatable. It is my personal preference because I can keep the pressure going all out throughout the movement, and I don't rest in any circumstance when I'm doing the exercise. While some other people, like for example Jeff Nippert, will tell you to actually rest the bar in your upper chest when you finish one repetition, in order to start from a completely immobile position. I mean, you can do that. I think it would be better in order to do the exercise with more weight, because you would get a little bit of rest in between. But I just prefer it like this. I don't know, it feels like I'm pushing harder myself, so I do this. And once again, it's up to debate. If you want to rest the bar when you finish a repetition, you can. If you want to get it, not rest the bar, just get it a little bit above the chest, you can also do that like I do. Just try them both, see what suits you best. Okay, one thing to take into consideration is that you shouldn't start a movement by shrugging the weight off. While it may increase your strength potential, that is only because you are recruiting the traps at the beginning of the concentric. Arguably, one of the places where you will put more stress in your shoulders is when you are actually doing that upward motion when the bar is completely rested. And by consequence, you will also reduce the range of motion of the press, leading to even less stress placed on the shoulders. So yeah, shrugging the weight up when you're starting the movement, don't do it. When you reach the hand of the concentric though, from some of the sources I have investigated, like Mark Rito and Scott Herman, Scott defends that this is in order to have the full range of motion in the press, while Mark has a different take on the subject, saying that you should shrug at the top of the concentric, because in order to further prevent shoulder impingement, actually. Now, this is at least what I have ascertained, the material I researched, since Mark also said previously that anatomically, while performing the military press, it is impossible to impinge your shoulder, since the bony structures of the scapula that could collide with the head of the humerus, resulting in impingement, move with the scapula as the press is performed. the scapula is floating bone, so it moves, it isn't stationary. Okay, having that in mind, when the movement is completed, you should have your wrists, elbows, hips and feet standing in a straight line from the side, when seen from the side, in order to assure you maintain stability while performing the press. The weight should be balanced by the middle of the foot. This should be it for how to execute the movement. Now let's go on to some common mistakes. I myself did them, I probably still do them, and I'm trying to correct as most as I can by identifying what I can see when I record myself doing the exercises. Okay, so let's go for the 5 most common errors. The first one is flaring the elbows, which is when the elbows are pointed directly to the side, which means that the grip is too wide. For proper form, the forearm and elbow need to be aligned. In order to do it correctly, you should start also in the scapular plane, like we talked before.
Ah, está-se bem.
So yeah, the first most common error, don't flare the
Está-se bem.
the second
Muita
most
merda, é.
common error is
Já
not
percebi.
maintaining a straight bar pad. In order to be efficient, the bar pad should take the shortest path possible. Pull your head back and get your chest up in order to give space for the bar to the bar for passing in a straight line. Avoid putting your head too far forward and the bar too far back when you lock out the elbows, and focus on moving the bar horizontally. Like we talked before, you don't want to have a bar pad that's up and out, you just want it to be out. The third most common mistake is the arching of the lower back. It is a very serious problem since it can lead to acute back pain. Back pains are no fun. They are not. To fix this, you should flex your glutes, core, and quads. Like we said before, this is the reason for you to flex your glutes. Also, you should flex your core and quads, and your quads in order to maintain more rigidity all throughout. In order to maintain your body as stable as possible in the movement, do this before and while performing the press. Arching your lower back can also be a sign of lack of mobility in other parts of your body, like for example on the lats. You can foam roll your lats before doing the exercise. Another problem could also be thoracic mobility. You could also do some foam rolling for that. But yeah, lack of mobility in other areas of your body can be what is making you arch your lower back. But it can also be that you're not properly flexing your glutes, core and quads. So quads, like that. Yeah, so yeah, get that fixed first, and if that doesn't solve it for you, then look into all the mobility issues.
Está-se bem.
The fourth most common mistake
Muita
is
merda, é.
excessively
Já percebi.
bending the wrists during the press. You want to keep them in a neutral position. The best grip to accomplish this is a bulldog grip, like Jeremy Yetier said. Tumbleless grip can also be very effective for this, but choose one of these. And yeah, like I said before, remember to keep your wrists stacked above your elbows. The 5 most common mistake is cheating with the momentum, the so-called touch and go reps, in which you start incorporating more legs into the movement. This starts to be more of a push press and not an overhead press. And the push press is also a great exercise. It can help you to push more weights while doing an overhead press, but it's a totally different exercise, so you don't want to do this if you're just going for the military press. And an extra one, the 6th mistake out of 5, is not using a full range of motion, which can mean starting too much above the chest, or just not going to full lockout with your elbows. Not doing the proper range of motion will just lead to not as much gains, so we all want the gains, so don't do it. Yeah. And I mean, that's all for now on what I better myself. This has been a really researchy topic, which I will listen to the opinions of very big names in the industry, like Jeff Nipper, the Jeremy Etier, Mike Ripto, also Scott Turner. And, I mean, they all have something a little bit different than the other, but I think that the core is in
Muita
the end
merda, é.
gathered
Já
everything.
percebi.
It's maybe a little bit not as concise as I want it to be, but I'm still working on that as a content producer. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope it's helpful to some of you. And go get some games, boys and girls. See ya.